something I did want to do, and I did want to put some height on these leaves. I did realize that these leaves didn't have any height information to them. I wonder. Let me see what's going on with those leaves, because maybe I could project those leaves back onto there. I'm gonna say that's probably a big fat no though, because I didn't use maps. I painted them on with projections. So yeah, I can let me try to get a leaf here. Let me find these leaves again. I'm gonna do a height map on them. I'm gonna convert them to height information and see if I can project them back onto themselves. See if that works. Actually, I think I'm gonna try to just grab this one, actually. Let me see what I can do here. I need to make a height out of this leaf. I'm still not familiar with bitmap to material, but I do know that I might still have crazy bump on here, and I could just use that. If anybody else has anything, let me know. This is called Crazy Bump. This is a free program. It'll allow you to take... I'm gonna make a height map from a photo, basically. See if it works. This guy is going to be in here. Harvey Art. So this might take a little bit of time for me to find. We'll see if it works. Ivy Alpha. So those are the alphas, but that's just an alpha. That's for me to paint these things where they belong. I need a normal map though. This guy. I need a normal map or a height map to actually make them feel like they got veins in them and stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna load this guy up here into this thing. It's actually going to figure out, see, there we go. It grabs the values and makes a height map out of it. Or normals, whatever it is. I want displacement, which is height, basically. I don't know. For texture set list in Substance Painter, is that determined by the materials we assign in Maya? Yes. It is determined by what you have assigned in Maya. It reads that stuff, okay? So if you have like 8 different materials in Maya, it's going to give you 8 materials in Substance Painter. So if you need to, go in and just grab your whole model and just make it like a blend and export it back out again, okay? Simple and easy should be. Displacement. No problem. I want you guys to have that stuff correct. I think depth needs some work on it and stuff like that, but honestly, I like what it's giving me here, so I'm just gonna stick with that. I'm going to save it. Save displacement to file. Yeah, sure. That sounds fun. Did it do it already? Pretty quick and simple. Let me go to my textures here and try to find it now. I mean, I probably could use this and kind of put some layers and stuff in there to try to make my own displacement off of this thing, but I don't think that's going to cause Substance Painter to give me some really crazy stuff, and I don't want to do that to you guys. But now I should be able to import a texture in here. Let me find it and just drag it in. Lecture models, water well. And I need to find displacement. There it is. Okay, dragged in. I want it to be in the textures, and I want it to stay with the project. Stay there. And there it is, in my textures, right here. Okay, so I want to try to line this leaf up to the veins that I have with this thing. So let's do projection real quick. I need to make a new... You know what? I want this thing to be a mask. So I'm going to make it a mask, actually. And I have alphas, too. Yeah, this is good. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Now, this is probably more setup than you guys have to deal with right now, but I'm doing some crazy stuff, and you're going to love me for it, hopefully. I'm going to make a fill layer. I'm going to make a black mask with that fill layer. I'm going to add another fill inside of here. I mean, so there's two ways of doing projection, really, okay? There's me making a stencil and painting it where I want it to be, or I can use a fill layer and move it around. You guys want me to show you both of those, or just one of them? Because you can actually go into the 2D view of your UVs and move it where you want it to be, or you can let the projection occupy the whole screen and you paint it onto the model yourself. In this situation, I probably want this thing being really flat, so I'm going to try to use the fill node for it. But I'll do it again for you guys, okay? So no worries there, all right? Let me try to use the fill method here, because I'm working with a flat texture. It's probably better I just keep it flat. If you guys use the projection method and I try to paint this thing on, I could paint it at an angle and that would be bad. If I try to use it in the 2D view with projection, it'll at least be flat, but still, it's just kind of like I don't get to move it around very well that way. Plus, if I use the fill method, I get to squash and stretch it a little bit too, if it doesn't fit. So I think those are all bonuses for me to use the fill method here, and I'm just going to do that first. So I'm going to grab this displacement map and put it in the fill node of my mask, and there it is right there. Okay. Step 1 accomplished. Step 2. You'll notice here with this mask that I'm getting some crap around the ends that I don't like. So that's nasty. I already have an alpha for this leaf, which is great. Because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make another fill on top of this thing. I'm going to set this guy to multiply. Let me just drag this guy in there. Now, my alpha is clean. Good to go. I have this alpha multiplying using its dark blackness powers to take away all the stuff around it. So that's what I did there. Awesome setup. Okay. Oh, I don't know if I can move these guys independently. Dang it. See, that's a deal breaker there. Son of a butt. No, whatever. We'll figure it out. Let me take this off for right now. I want to see this thing working. Let me move this guy where he needs to be. Yeah, I really wish I could merge these guys together. Like you know, like Photoshop, you can like merge things together. That would be nice. Oh well. Honestly, yeah, I need to just get rid of this guy now. It would just be easier for me to paint that crap out. So let me scale this guy down. If you hold shift, you have to be in the 2D view for this. If you're in the 3D view for fill, you have no scale options and you're stuck with what you got. If you go to 2D and a fill node is there, you can actually move it around like this. So hold shift and you can scale it. And the scaling will be uniform when you do that, okay? Move him where he belongs here. I need to get rid of all these duplicates, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the fill and tell it I don't want it to repeat. I just want none. There we go. Let me try to size this guy up now. I'm still holding shift. I don't want this thing to be like longer or anything like that. And you see how much control I have over this thing now, right? Like if I was doing projection, this would be a nightmare. Scale it around just a little bit more. I feel like I'm almost there. Yeah, truthfully. Okay, so you know what? Something that's working good for me right now is I actually have opacity plugged into my leaf. I already have opacity plugged into my leaf. I see it's still not lined up all the way. My veins here still a little bit more love. Can't shake him. Got him on target. Locked in. There's a strong with this one. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'll still show you guys the other projection method. Don't worry. Okay. Okay, so, you know, maybe I need to stretch this thing a little bit, so I'm just going to do some stuff like this, and now I can kind of move it around to make it thinner or thicker. Now it looks like it really is kind of lining up a lot better. And kind of move it, and its little axis is there. Okay, so I like what's going on. Again, if you look, my opacity is plugged into the leaf already, so that stuff on the outside is not happening because the leaf already has an alpha, like a opacity around it. But, you know, if I need to, I can just put a little paint in here, you know, come in here with a brush and actually just go black with it and just paint this stuff out. Don't need it. Don't want it. Okay. Oh, I got a little bit on the tip here. Kind of paint it out if you need to. Maybe I need a little bit more over here. Just paint a little. You know, it kind of chopped off the end there a little bit. There we go. Not too crazy. Not too bad. A little bit of depth for my model. So this is my fill node here. You can turn everything else off. Actually, all I want is height. So let's look at this thing in 3D view and see what this is actually doing now. So if I adjust my fill layer now with height, I should get a little bit of depth with this thing. There you go. You see it kind of stabbing out there. Now there's a little bit of something there. And I can do the same thing with roughness too. Like let's say for instance, you know, I want, see I don't have like any roughness on this thing, I don't think. If I go through my maps here, it's just blank on roughness, which is not great. So I actually need to fix that a little bit. Okay, so this is what my map is doing right here, right? Let's say I want some more contrast with this though. Maybe I want more things to be sharper so that they look better. So let's work with that mask a little bit more. I'm going to do a levels node, and we're going to clamp those values together now. Let's take a look at what this is actually doing here. Okay, clamping my values. Let's go to levels. I'm going to drag these guys around here. There you go, you already see it happening. Where, okay, there's my darks are getting darker, my lights are getting lighter. Clamp it down. Play with these levels and see if you can slam. If you can slam this gray into either the black or the white, you'll really get that sharp mask that you're probably looking for. Okay, I think I took away too much white. This might be a little bit better though. Let's take a look at what it did to the height. There we go. Let me show you what that levels node did right there. A little bit more height. Pulled out a little bit more of the stuff that I really wanted to pull out. Okay. Now this looks like a leaf, right? Not as shiny though. It's not really that shiny. So here's what I'm gonna do is I'm going to tell this thing, you know, it is kind of shiny. I could play with roughness and say, hey, I want this to be even shinier on the veins. Since that's what this thing is masking out the veins. Honestly, I actually want the veins to be rougher. I think that's normally what happens. We get like rougher veins and shinier surface around it. So I can, you know, I can duplicate this layer, which is gonna make my height even crazier, but I don't need height for this one. I could duplicate my layer here. I wonder. Don't have any. I can come over to my levels though. Look, I can come over to my levels and say, hey levels, I want you to invert this. Bam. Just like that. So now my mask is the opposite of what it was from that last layer. I still, you know, I still want this thing to have the alpha plugged in, so it's just a leaf. Actually, let me come in here to this folder, and I just want this thing to affect my leafy area. So I'm just going to come into that folder. It's very interesting that whatever this is, I need to get rid of that. Let's try to find those leaves again. I'm just going to paint white into this thing. Try to get my leaves back here. But this way, you know, if I use this folder this way, then that roughness that I just did doesn't affect the rest of my model. Okay, so I think I got what I needed out of this leaf here. Let's get the other leaf. I only want my leaves and everything that I do with those layers to stay in those layers. And it's probably something where now I need to come in here and make sure that I'm not painting out the rest of that stuff. Let's get my pure whites in here. Make sure there's no little empty clouds. I'm a little bit too close to this guy, so I'm going to change this to black and just paint black in there. Just to be safe. I don't want any of that stuff encroaching in there. Let's try it again, just to make sure. Yeah, it looks like I'm kind of cut there. Okay. Cool, good to go. Alright, so now that little roughness layer that I made here gives me some shine, and my veins are not as shiny. Should be able to fluctuate this now. Make like super rough or super shiny, whatever I want to do with those leaves. And it shouldn't be affecting the rest of my model. Okay, they actually do look a little bit better rough. Maybe go for like half roughness on that one, and just a little bit more than rough, more than half on that. That seems like a nice muted roughness for a leaf. Cool. So there we go. That's what I did with this layer. Projected some of that on there and got some height going. A little bit of height, a little bit of roughness to make these leaves pop a little bit more. Okay. Now let's try the 3D projection way of things. All right, so I'm going to make I need to make another layer. Now, if you're doing 3D projection and you're painting onto the model, you need to actually make a paint layer. So you have little control over that. Actually, no, because right now, okay, so projection, with projection, you can project more than just black and white information. You can project color, you can project normals, you can project whatever you want onto your model, okay? That's the 3D projection way where you can make a paint layer. You can actually plug in a couple of things together here too. So let's say, for instance, I'm gonna go into projection mode here. It's this guy right here, projection. I want to do something really cool for you guys real quick. I'm going to come into base color and throw base color in there. I don't know why it's not giving me anything visually. What happened? I needed to turn that stuff off, I guess. Okay, so there's that color plugged in. Okay, and let me put height in here too. Then I'm going to take this displacement guy and plug him into height. And let's say I want opacity plugged in, and I'm going to put this guy in here. So you can actually paint like 3 different maps onto each other if you have them already done. And I can say, let me pull this guy out of this layer so I don't get any masks in there interfering with me. Doesn't matter where I go, I'm getting like a mask. There we go. Not in any folders now. Okay. So with this projection method, I can move this guy around and do some of this stuff with it. So I have a few controls. By holding S and dragging around, I have an option here that'll let me line this thing up like this, and then I can just paint onto it. I'm getting height, I'm getting normals, I'm getting height, I'm getting opacity, and I'm getting color, all in those strokes there. Okay, so that's what that did with projection. You'll notice I didn't paint on normals, so I didn't actually affect the normals, so I still have wood grain from my normal map here. Okay, but that's projection. Like that. So I can actually get 3 things on one. If I want to paint something onto this leaf though, and let's say I want, here's the other thing with projection here too, guys, okay? If you're doing projection on a paint layer like this, guess what? You're making a paint layer. So this is not a fill layer that I get to control and move things around with on the sliders. This is stuck in place. I think the only thing you could do with this thing now is put filters on it and play with the opacity to try to get it to be weaker or lighter on different things, okay? The square around the leaf is caused by that black alpha around it, okay? So here, hang on a minute. If I took the opacity channel off, like this, let me take opacity and height off here. Let's just work with base color, because this base color right now, if you look at the base color map down here, it actually has an alpha to it. So it's already stenciled away. So now it's not affecting the black. I'm not painting black on there. It's got an alpha on it already. Same thing with this leaf here too. This one's already got an alpha on it. So it's not gonna paint the surroundings there, okay? But yeah, these guys right here do not have alphas on them. They are alphas themselves. So honestly, you know what? Here, I wonder if this will work. It would be pointless for me to put this in opacity if it already has an alpha on it. So let me try to put this in height. And let me change my alpha to be this leaf now. I wonder. No, that's not gonna work. It doesn't like it. No habla. Anyways, but yeah, that's how that's gonna work. And that's only gonna be the alpha of my brush. It's not gonna be the alpha of projection. So yeah, it's stuck. It's stuck in place there. You're going to want to use stuff that already has an alpha to it, basically. Just like my leaf here, it already has an alpha. If you want to paint something that doesn't interfere with everything else, then yeah, you're going to need to do that. But that's what I was getting at here with this paint layer. I can't fix whatever I put on there. It's painted and it's stuck on there. So I can't do my fill node stuff like I'm doing with this other leaf over here. But what I can do, though, is instead of me using projection like that, I can use stencil method, okay? I have a black and white image here. So instead of me painting this into a paint layer where I have Instead of me using paint layers where I have to have all these different values plugged in, I can use a fill layer that's only using black and white information. So let me delete this guy. And let's make a fill node with a black mask. And instead of me using projection like this, I'm going to come over here and use stencil. And it's giving me kind of the same thing. Actually, I need to put, I'm gonna put this in a paint layer in my mask. It's the only way you can kind of work with this. You will notice here, I actually did take the leaf veins from this leaf and put it on this leaf because it wasn't veiny enough for me. So there's a little fun fact for you. You can kind of see the vein patterns line up. Okay. Kind of hard to do it this way with 3D because it's like, oh, well, what if I don't get my tilt right here and all that stuff, okay? So yeah, we may need to go into 2D view where everything's flat, and this might make more sense to everybody. This way I'm not getting any depth and I'm not shooting this thing at an angle because that can make some nasty stuff. Yeah. Yeah, you guys can, well, you would want to import the image with the alpha already attached to it. I wouldn't try to plug in an alpha separately. If that makes sense to you, okay? You could Alt-Shift, but if I move my camera around to try to line it up, I could mess that up too, okay? So I wouldn't recommend just trying to go for like an orthographic lock, because there's still perspective with that still, okay? UV is the best way to get like the flat view, okay? So I think you're safer that way. Alright, so I'm gonna just kind of move this thing around a little bit. Again, you know, like it's... My controls here for this are a little bit limited. Like, I feel like I need to scale this thing around a little bit, and it's not going to let me do that because my options here for this are very limited. I don't get to really skew this thing around. So, yeah, I mean, this isn't going to be great. I'm going to try, but I'm just going to have to fix it again with the other one. But let me just show you what this thing does. This is a stencil projection. Black and white information is what I'm getting from it. I know this thing doesn't line up on the outsides, and that's okay with me. Okay, this is what I'm probably gonna get here. So let me just work with this. It's probably the closest I'm gonna get to this thing. So let's work with this. So now if I paint onto this thing, it's going to paint that mask onto it. Again, remember that this is just a fill node that I'm working with right now. Okay, so I'm gonna need to adjust some things here once I'm done painting, but that's all the information that I really needed was that. Alright, so let me, again, I probably need to come back into my leaves here. Go into that so I'm not going into anything else here. This fill node that I made has color and opacity and stuff to it that I don't want attached. I really just want to get a little bit of height and roughness off of this thing, I think. Okay. So, alright, let me go back to 3D. Now that I've painted it on there, let's see what I get from this thing. Let me you know, raise the height up a little bit. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit of something. Raise the height. Let's play with the roughness a little bit more because you're a little bit too shiny for me. There we go. All right. So I got a little bit of something out of this, and again, like I can come in here still because I painted this thing in. Let me take the stencil off. I think we're done with the stencil now. That's what I painted onto it. I can still come in here to this paint node and add a levels to it and do that clamping thing again. So I can still do that. Play with it a little bit, get a little bit more white, kind of drop it down. So you still have these levels nodes and stuff that you can still adjust things a little bit with. And there we go. Now it's a little bit sharper. I don't know. I lost like a lot of veins in that though. I need more veins. He's so veiny. There we go. I think it was better that way, honestly. Okay, so same thing, just two different ways of doing it. Yeah, actually, I don't want this kind of shape projecting on it. Just want the veins. So that's one reason why I was just like, yeah, I need to just want the veins. So I'm just gonna play around with it a little bit more with this node here. Truthfully, like my height is just a little bit too intense anyway, so I'm just gonna do a little bit something like that. That's a little bit better. No problem, Jordan. I appreciate you coming by. I'll be here for another 15 minutes or so, and then we'll be done with this thing. Okay? But you know, a little bit of projection for you guys. Work for you? Good explanation. The fill layer moving is pretty nice. I like that a lot because I get to move it around. There's also, like, if you paint something, it's not locked in place all the way if you don't want it to be. If you're using a paint layer, you can actually use, you know, here, I'm gonna do it right here real quick for you. So let's say, for instance, okay, well, this leaf is cool, but I'm noticing now that it's not exactly lined up perfectly. I want to move it around just a little bit. You can come over here to the filters tool, and you can use a transform node here. And what this will do is this will allow you to offset, let me get to this texture here. It'll allow you to offset that texture and move it around a little bit. Or rotate it. You know, maybe it's not rotated the right way. So you know, I just want to see you see this thing in action here. Move that texture around if you need to. It's kind of hard to control this thing though. So, you know, you're gonna have to you have to be really gentle with this thing. You can rotate it, you can move it around. This is just you moving something around in the UV space though. Okay. Pretty interesting stuff there. You can use a transform node, scale it, and maybe it's too big, I need it to be smaller. You know, you have controls for this stuff. So a lot of options there. Not everything is locked in stone.